Hey everybody, this is Matt Bergman. I'm your instructor for this course, and I want to share with you a little bit about the SAMR model because it's such an important component to what we're going to be doing with technology integration. So, one of the things that I always try to emphasize is that it's not the tool, but how you use the tool that matters. So, technology itself doesn't cause engagement or transformation, but how it's used works. So we can have 100 different apps and do some very basic things, and yet we could take one app and really dive deep into it and integrate it at a much deeper level. So the SAMR model was developed as a way for educators to sort of look at how effectively are we integrating technology. And you can see that it stands for substitution, augmentation, modification, and redefinition. Now, right about here, there's a line usually in the model, so you can see this is one model that I have, and this is a great model by Sylvia Duckworth. And on this side, technology enhances things. It's a great substitute. So instead of writing, say, for instance, notes on exit tickets on a post-it note, maybe you're using Padlet, or maybe you're using the post-it note app to scan those post-it notes and move them around and manipulate. So it's not anything like high level or deep, but it's still very effective. When you get to this part, the transformation stage, it means that things are just totally transformed and you couldn't do them without technology. So creating a collaborative blog, creating a multimedia type of project where you're collaborating with another classroom across the globe. Things like that are examples of transformation. So substitution, just to sort of highlight what that means, is that technology is sort of like a direct substitute. There's not a lot of functional change. The content doesn't change, it's just the format. So maybe you're using a Google Doc instead of a regular handout. Maybe you're having students type up information on that Google Doc. That's sort of what that means. From the augmentation standpoint, what that means is that technology is offering some functional improvements. So take that same Google Doc and you're adding in hyperlinks. Maybe you're using some of the graphics, inserting graphics, things like that, adding comments. Those are great ways to augment technology. Now, when you're crossing this line that they say from enhancement into transformation, it's sort of like enhancements, like seasoning a recipe, an old family recipe, and just like maybe adding a little bit more garlic and a little bit more oregano and things like that. Doesn't necessarily, it just enhances the experience, but it doesn't necessarily transform it. The transformation stage is using technology in a way to completely redesign the task. New possibilities exist that would have never existed before. So that would be like taking that family recipe and creating something entirely new. Based upon that. So the modification phase right here that you see, I'm going to move myself over, is technology allows for a redesign of that task, right? So learning wouldn't necessarily be possible without technology. And you're starting to see, the 4Cs get in there. There's creativity, collaboration, communication, critical thinking. Hyperdocs would be a great example of that, where students are exploring a lesson on their own. They're accessing hyperlinks, but then they're doing collaborative tasks within that. So maybe one of the tasks is that they're putting together a class Google slideshow. Maybe there are some different things that they're doing with technology in order to research or create something, right? And then you get to this redefinition stage, and redefinition allows for an entirely new task that could not have been done on its own, and you're tackling a real life problem. So an example of this would be, I actually had a class many years ago called Hershey's Honors Authentic Business Management. And in that class, what we were doing is we were learning how the Hershey company operates. So every single week we would go and learn a different aspect of the company. And then they would come to us or we'd come to them to get an experience. Well, after about 32 weeks, what we found is that students would take one of those topic areas, such as logistics, buying ingredients and commodities, advertising, things like that. And they would research that topic, and they would find a problem that the Hershey company would need to solve within that topic. One of my students, they found that there is a right now with Uber Eats and Grubhub and all of these different grocery delivery services, Peapod, things like that. What they found is that the front end of a store is disappearing. So they wanted to find a solution for the Hershey company to be able to continue selling chocolate to customers. And what they did is they developed an app. Yeah, they developed an app where they put in a map. They put in local grocery stores that would sell these products, information about the products. So what was really cool is when they presented this to the Hershey company, by the way, at the end of the year, they called us back and wanted to learn more about it. So that is an example of redefinition. So let's talk about like what this might look like if you were to do a regular assignment like constructing an essay. So our students have constructed essays on the life of Milton Hershey because that's a very important part of my organization. So an example of substitution would be students would use a Google Doc to construct the essay, right? But if we wanted to augment it a little bit and we wanted to change things a little bit, what we might do is we might offer hyperlinks to resources, force copy templates, a document to navigate. So this is an example right here of an essay that I had in one of my graduate classes students write, and it had hyperlinks right here within the document to learn a little bit more about the content. But what was really neat about this is that it also had where you could click on this and it would have a template that you could access. There were a lot of different things that you could do within this assignment. So it was a great way of augmenting. But crossing the line and transforming learning is where modification is a big component of this. So maybe students are using voice typing to type the essay. Maybe they're using translation to translate the document. Maybe they're sharing and collaborating, getting feedback, using the commenting tools. So the modification stage would be an example of that. So what if we wanted to totally transform and redefine this task? Well, maybe instead of writing an essay about the life of Milton Hershey, maybe what they do is they develop a virtual field trip using different multimedia components, creating a scavenger hunt. And so we did that using Google Earth. So this is an example of Google Earth right here and the life of Milton Hershey. The project feature allows you to create this multimedia experience where students can go through and they can learn and interact with the map. They can use these cards right here to watch videos and also go through and take a look at images and read content. So that's an example of how a task would have was redefined, right? You couldn't do this without technology. So swimming back and forth between this model is encouraged and is essential because every lesson can't be in this redefinition stage. It might not necessarily be appropriate. So it really is based upon the lesson goal. What is the lesson goal that you have? And how can technology enhance that lesson? So you may be swimming back and forth, and that is okay. And one level isn't necessarily better than another. But I would encourage you that if you find that you're using technology in the substitution level, how could we take it up a notch? How could we augment that experience? Instead of having students just type up that essay, is there something else we could do to help students and maybe take a look at academic barriers that exist? So the SAMR model is a great way to take a look at all of those things and really refine how we're doing it. So thank you very much. And let me know if you have any questions.